Did you grow up watching Disney Channel? One of the books I read pulls back the curtain on the entire early 2000s to mid 2010s Disney Channel era. And the audiobook is narrated by Lalima from Lizzie McGuire. I read that plus a 5-star comfort reread and an AI fiction book set a little too close to home. So let's get into my January and February reads. First up, let's talk about Disney High, the untold story of the rise and fall of Disney's Tween empire by Ashley Spencer. I rated this book 3.5 stars. This nonfiction book chronicles the rise and eventual shift of Disney's dominance and the tween entertainment industry. It's structured around specific shows and Disney Channel original movies, using each one to explore the cultural impact and the behind the scenes that went into making those shows and movies. I felt like this book was really well researched, and I also enjoyed the structure. It's structured so that each chapter focuses on a specific Disney Channel show or a specific Disney Channel original movie. If you grew up watching Disney Channel in the early 2000s through the mid 2010s era, this will hit very close to home for you. It really captures how massive the era is while also mixed in with a bit of nostalgia, which I really enjoyed. You get to see everything from how they casted shows to their views on child actors and how they should be treated, along with the shift of Disney as a corporation and their views of the worth of Disney Channel and the Disney Channel stars through that era. I found that the book was interesting, and I think the best form of picking this up is the audiobook because it is written by Laila, who played Miranda and Lizzie McGuire. She read it brilliantly. And my only negative is that I thought at times it moved a little bit too slow, and then in other sections it moved a little too fast. So just the pacing was off, but the actual content I thoroughly enjoyed. And I highly recommend picking this up if you love the Disney Channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Elizabeth. I talk about books. And if you're an existing subscriber, thank you so much for continuing to choose to spend your time with me. It means so much. And I just wanted to say that before I go any further. So let's jump into my next book. Let's go to the first book I read this year, which was a reread, and this was The House in the Sea by TJ Klune. This was a 5-star reread for me and a perfect way to start off the 2026 reading year. If you're unfamiliar with the story, it finances Linus Baker, a caseworker who loves his rigid system of rules and the place he works for and those rules, and he is hell-bent on following all of the rules and not deviating from them. He works as a caseworker for the department in charge of magical youth and is in charge of inspecting orphanages and deciding what should happen to the bad and good ones. In this novel, he is sent to a remote island to inspect a highly unusual orphanage. And this particular orphanage is set to house 6 of the most dangerous magical children, including potentially the Antichrist. As Linus spends more time there, he begins to question the system and the rules he so much loves, and he even starts to wonder about what he wants to do with life. This book, simply put, is pure warmth. I feel like it is hope in physical form, and given everything that is going on in the world right now, I feel like everybody needs to read something like this. It genuinely brings light back into a dark world. And I think I somehow love this reread even more than the first time I read the book, which was magical in itself. And what I love the most is the characters. They feel real, they have flaws, they have emotions, and they're multi-layered. And I really, really loved seeing our main character Lion growth throughout the story. And I love seeing who he became and his questioning of his own system of beliefs and the changes he wanted to impart going forward. If you're in need of a comfort fantasy, this is probably my top recommendation because it is just so warm and gives me all the best feelings. Next, let's dive into something a bit different. And I read The Dream Hotel by Lalami, and I gave this book 3.5 stars. This novel is a speculative fiction novel or low sci-fi set in the near distant future where an AI algorithm determines somebody's likelihood of committing a future crime. The story follows a woman named Sarah who becomes entangled in this institutional system, the darker side of technology, and it explores autonomy, the power of technology, whether for good or bad, and even inmate labor. I really enjoyed this one. It felt very timely and unsettling in a way that a good speculative fiction does. In particular, I really liked delving into the themes and the commentary that the book focuses on. There was so much to unpack, from forced institutionalism to people going in settings for a crime that they haven't committed or been convicted of at this point. And also the danger of AI and what it can be, and the uses of that if it gets into the wrong hands of the wrong people. I also felt like our character Sarah had some nice growth. I loved seeing how she felt about surveillance and AI and technology, and how her thoughts changed around this throughout the novel went. The reason it didn't get a 4 stars, in all honesty, was the pacing between like the 25% mark and the 40% mark. It was a bit of a slog through that section of the book. However, the second half was absolutely gripping and turned into a real page turner, and I quite enjoyed the ending. I thought it was a nice touch. Not everything was wrapped up in a good bow. However, I don't think with this kind of story it should be. And I felt like the ending was very realistic. And I enjoyed the writing so much that I actually want to pick up more from this author, particularly fiction, because this fiction book was written so well, in my opinion. And lastly, for my 4th book, we have the shortest book I read so far this year. And this is the 10th or 11th installment in the Wayward Children series. And that is Through the Gates of Garnet and Gold by Seanan McGuire. This particular installment brings us back to Eleanor West's home for wayward children, and it reunites us with all of our favorite characters and sends us on another portal fantasy adventure. It revisits past world and relationships while exploring identity and belonging, and what happens after you found and your home. While I enjoyed this novella, I gave it 3 stars. However, it is not one of my favorites in the series. My main critique is that I feel like it tried to take on too much for being a novella, and so either it needed to pull back on how much it tried to take on, or it might have been better suited for like a full-length novel. I felt like the message and the themes got a bit too muddled for my own personal liking. That said, the characters in this story is really what makes it shine, and what always makes this series shine is the characters, the relationships to one another, and their overall growth. If you like Nancy, this one revisits her world. And this book, like the others, has this whimsical yet dark tone, which I feel like Seanan McGuire does really well in this series. And so if you've liked previous books, this is one that I would definitely still pick up. However, that being said, this is not one you can jump into without reading the other books. You can potentially skip the one with the horse girl and the one that journeys to the other school for people who want to forget the worlds they lived through. However, all other books in the series I think are critical to enjoying this one, and reading this one would spoil the prior books in the series. Overall, I feel like I've had a really strong start to 2026. January, I read 1 book. And in February, I really had some momentum with 3. And so while behind on my Goodreads goal, I felt pretty good for where I'm at. And I feel really good momentum going into March. If you're currently planning your March reading, I did post a March readathon guide. I will link the video in the description below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like or a comment. It really helps me out. And if you want to hear more of my bookish, feel free to subscribe. Happy reading, and I'll see y'all later. Bye, y'all.